Okay, we're here.
And it's beginning. Jay has been in sunny Texas, back with Chris. Why am I doing this voice? I shouldn't do the voice, because it's my zip-zap fun, having a good time radio personality voice. Chris, why don't I pass it to you and see if you can do the same thing? Ah! That's right. It is what night? Night 6. Can you believe that?
Is it really?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
Wow.
Tuesday.
I haven't thought about it that way.
It's kind of wild, to be totally honest. I feel like I've been here maybe 3 days.
Yeah, doesn't feel
But
that
it's
long.
twice that long. And I have to go back to my wonderful place in Alabama on Saturday. We'll be driving back with that wonderful 10 to 11 hour drive,
Well, yeah,
depending on how you take it, weather and road conditions.
that's the thing. Like, if you just had like an open road, it would take like 8.5 hours. But
You ever think about that? Like, I have to drive to work. If I could drive in a straight line, I would be there so quickly.
right,
Just from what, like A to B, a point.
with like no turns.
Yes.
just straight there.
No turns, no traffic.
It'd probably make your drive go from like 30 minutes to like 10.
It's 25.
Well,
So like 8.
I
Like
got
8.
a gross
I
overestimation.
I messed up. I had to fine tune you.
Yes.
Just like I put up a tune up on my car, my alternator went out. You know what that does?
Yeah.
Well, it was very bad because
I had it happen too once while I was driving.
it was terrible because I took it into the Walmart expert repair store, and they said, it's probably your battery. And I said, the battery's about a year old. It probably isn't the battery. They said, well, we're going to have to replace the battery. And I had to, fight with them about that. I said, there's nothing wrong with the battery. You can test it, and it's working. It's the alternator. Well, we're still going to try to get you a new battery. And so I just left.
Yeah.
And so I went to the friendly neighborhood mechanic that my father used to go who charges about 3 times as much as a normal mechanic, and ended up paying $176 for an alternator and the service.
Yeah.
Which is over twice as much as it should probably cost. Way over. What did Daniel say? He could get a used one for $20.
So 176 total?
Yeah.
Really? That's not that bad. Last year when I was leaving your house, just all of a sudden every single light on my dashboard came on.
When it rains, it pours.
And so, of course, I would go to Firestone and I was just like, okay, what's going on? And they do that thing called the auto EKG to just diagnose thing.
Oh, with a little machine.
Yeah. And they did that, and that thing cost $100.
Oh,
Almost.
my God.
Almost. And guess what it was? It was just my gas cap was broken, and it was just making everything go crazy. So they gave me a new gas cap, and I had to pay $120 for it. That was it. Just a new gas cap.
My God.
Horrible.
It's a game.
Speaking of
it's
bad
it's
things,
business.
you want to talk about Dark Souls?
We're already getting into Dark Souls.
I'm the king of segues.
No. I want to. Okay, I'm holding on to Dark Souls.
We're doing banter.
I'm gonna pin that to the wall. I've defaced your home. Listen, I've been here for all this time, and this is the first time, night 6, that we finally decided to put our foots down. Our foots.
You said
Our
it, not
foots
me.
could be the podcast title
You know
already.
what's funny is yes, it is. You said that I didn't even bat an eyelash. It's just okay. Yeah.
I'm the one who put my foot down and said, we're going to do this. What's with that? What is the, what? You remember back in the day on the old channel when I was like, we're going to pick up a brand. We're going to never have to pay for anything. We're going to be superstars on YouTube. You remember the goals? We got Morris involved. It was like, we've got something.
Well, I think What happens is once you start doing something, you realize most of your goals are unachievable, so you settle back into like what's comfortable.
But did you ever share in these hopes?
Absolutely.
I mean,
still
that we
do.
really could.
I still do, kind of.
And can
Just
you believe it,
hoping
like,
that, we do something that like gets us some recognition. I mean,
from ourselves and our friends.
And then eventually, how it works. One person tells one person, they tell two, and then like, that's how it works. But it just hasn't happened.
Virality? Virility? No, that's not it. But yeah, it's just it's strange the aspirations I used to have and how they became tempered.
Yeah.
And now,
well, we've settled in kind of like we've gotten lazy with it.
Yeah, we've turned into old men,
Yeah.
old YouTube men. After what was it, 3 years recently for the channel, or how long?
3 years, like 5 days ago. Yeah.
How long did the old
May
channel
10th.
go?
If you can bleep that out if you want.
There's no videos up.
Okay. Only a year. Isn't that crazy?
It seems like we've been doing this for a decade.
It seems like lasted so long because we were doing everything for the first time.
And we were just raw, unfiltered, no real names. I created awful, bizarre aliases that you were very unhappy about. And
that was 4 years ago when we started that. That's crazy.
But
and I was 18 and 19 when we were doing that.
The interesting thing about it is in using aliases and not disclosing any information about region, anything, we knew it was just us listening to it.
That's true. Yeah.
And we weren't even introducing it to our friends. I don't think you did, but
a couple like Joe and Daniel, of course.
But we were able to just say whatever we wanted to. Lewd, horrible things. Upsetting sexual things. That was mostly me. I'll take the blame for that, but just saying awful things. But anyway, I guess my point is, when you think about it really becoming a business, like look at like Rooster Teeth. That was started by people who just were like friends, right? They just wanted to do something fun. And look at it now. It's a cold, unfeeling machine.
Yes,
that's what success does.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of good that we never got any of that. Because if we had, I think it would have become a real obligation to do everything. We'd be excited to do.
I kind of see what you mean, but like if you had the ability to quit like your job and do this for payment, you would do it much more passionately.
After time, you'd be going through motions.
Maybe.
Now I still think like we're doing this for us and for fun. It's not motivated by anything else necessarily.
I guess I could see that, yeah.
And I think like I try to look back into like Bernie, his mind, and it's like this was like a fun like heart-filled thing. Is it now? Like really asking him,
people,
is it?
Like making recording booths out of their closets and stuff. Yeah.
Like if you asked him now.
And now they have like 300 something employees. Probably more now. Who knows?
If
they just poached one of our boys from Make 64.
Eric, we'll get on. We'll
my
get to
boys.
If you asked him, is this thing still from the heart?
Yeah.
Like, are you doing this for just the fun of it? He'd say, oh, yeah. But deep down inside, he knows it's a machine now.
I mentioned I used to like listening to some of their stuff when it was like the core guys.
Yeah.
But now he's basically the CEO and just lets people like do it, and he just oversees.
Yes. It's a really ugly and tough thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we get into Dark Souls. See, who's the king of segues now?
Yeah, well,
will you rate that segue?
We'll revisit it, listen back a couple times, and we'll pick one. We'll pick the better one.
We'll vote. We'll post a community poll on Twitter.
If mine's better, we'll just like cut it from the beginning and stick it in.
Whoever's is better,
cut yours out completely.
Whoever's is worse gets executed. What do you think? Handshake.
Deal.
We want one of us.
So confident.
One of us has to die. Let's do this.
Oh my god.
Speaking of dying, I'm just so good at this.
Prepare to die.
I'm getting all the community points. You're gonna die.
There's the Dark Souls of podcast.
It's hard to listen to. Well,
that was good.
I have. Oh, it's tough because I'm glad that Daniel wasn't here for this one or anyone else because
this is gonna be long and boring.
It's just gonna be long and tedious and nerdy. Like, and even people who beat the game and played it probably couldn't like stand to like listen to something for this long about this in depth about this game. Now, I want to tell my tale. So, what happened was, how did you pitch Bloodborne? How did you do it? How did you hook me?
I probably used the cheapest tactic, which is we should play this game. It's hard on the channel.
I don't think that was it.
I don't know. I think maybe I thought you would like it.
I think you just like, I came over to your place or something and you were playing it?
Maybe.
And I watched it and I was like, well, this was around the same time that you were like, you should play PT.
That's what it was. That's what it was. You came over and I showed you that and you were just like,
this isn't hard. Is that how it happened?
For PT.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
for Bloodborne, I brought it over. We started playing. I remember, and you had so many questions because you never really like seen the genre, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why are these people attacking you? What are you doing? What are your goals? What's the story? Basically, it's actually funny how hostile you were at first.
Just like the enemies.
Yeah.
You bring it out and immediately you're attacked. But I can't even chart it now. And that's another thing I want to get into. My memory is worse than ever before. Like, I've damaged myself, Chris. Anyway, damage, pain, grief, and distress. My thesis on Dark Souls. I started it. I played Bloodborne.
Oh!
We gotta leave it in. No one's clipping that out. See, I tried to adjust your mic stand to where this wouldn't happen.
My foot swung and hit it.
Well, the problem is I also have the beam out complete like at like a 90-degree angle facing us, so it's gonna be top heavy. These mics are actually pretty damn heavy.
I'm fine. We're fine. Keep going.
Anyway, I got a PS4 and I even said I got it to play Bloodborne. I played it, loved it. The whole channel, if you follow us, you know it.
we
you don't have to hear any more about Bloodborne. You're going to hear about Dark Souls for 40 episodes now.
Yeah, let's talk about an older game now.
Yes, older, less approachable. I bought a PS3 for like $79.99 in 2016, like late 2016, probably around the summer. And
after Bloodborne.
Yeah. And the only game I bought with it was Dark Souls. And I played a little bit of it. And I don't even think I beat more than a couple bosses.
Well, keep in mind, this is also like after me telling you, you should really just play this game. It's a masterclass of level design and all that. And it's not how it started, but it's where it like hit its stride. So I wanted you to play it.
And for someone who loved Bloodborne as much
exactly.
As you must play. Like, if I played you now, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah. I'd say of the whole series, it's Bloodborne and Dark Souls you need to play.
The twin gems
and
of
then
the
if
series.
you like, Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Which, we'll probably get to that at some point.
Oh, we're getting to it, too. It's just a Dark Souls podcast. A dark podcast presented by dark men about dark things, and you'll never know where it'll end up. Just like my conversations. Or our conversations. I want to say it's not mine, but okay. So the first day that I played Dark Souls was October 7th, 2016.
We can look at the trophy and see when you got the Estus.
Yeah,
unless you didn't get that far.
It's within there. And no, I got the This is Dark. Well, yeah, this is Dark Souls. Yeah. No, it's in all of them.
No.
And the games are all that terrible and self-aware of the bad things they're doing. No. Pandering. So I beat, obviously, like, what is it? The Asylum Demon, and flew to...
You beat him?
The Asylum?
You do have to kill him.
Yeah.
It's been a while since... No, it hasn't. I beat him.
Yeah, you played through it because I kept talking about it.
God.
I talked about that game so much, we're like, I think it's time to play it again.
That's true, yeah.
Dusted off the PlayStation.
I was just thinking about the part where you had run by him initially.
And then after that, it's that thing on the ledge that you have to plunge attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that thing called?
That's the Asylum Demon. Oh! The second one you do that to, the Taurus Demon.
The Taurus Demon, yeah. I think I beat that, and I got through the Bell Gargoyles, which is actually one of the best bosses in the game.
You think so?
Because, well, best in terms...
I always find that part is, I gotta do this.
Hold on. It may be a chore, but it's best in terms of, like, what's best for you as a player. Because it introduces you to the first multiple enemy boss. And there are things that come in that game later that if you weren't prepared of how to handle 2 assailants, you'd be way less where you needed to be. So I think it was extremely necessary to introduce them that early. It's pretty fucking early. And to me, it was one of those, I always use this term, where the men are separated from the boys. My biggest gripes about it were that, like, oh, these controls are shit. This is unfair. This is unreasonable. This is stupid. But in retrospect, almost none of it really was. I mean, there were a few bullshit things.
Well, it's hard to go back to it because, like, you play Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, and
great responsive controls.
It moves so well, and then that's just how I remember Dark Souls 1 being, because it was just a gradual climb. It'd been so long since I played the original. When I went back, I was like, oh my god, everything's so slow and clunky.
Yeah,
you can't move when you're healing.
And also, I don't like the PlayStation 3 controller.
Yeah,
I don't like it at all. And I'm not saying
I do think the PS3 controller feels cheap.
It's not even that it's cheap. It's like it's too heavy and it's too smooth. Like there's no grip. It'll slide out of your hand. Just something's really off about it. And I don't know what it was because, But anyway, I wanted my Dark Souls discussion. I can do it pretty quickly. I wanted to break it down into basically segments.
Okay.
That I'll list off and talk briefly about.
Yeah.
First, I'll talk about the bosses of bullshit as I have it entered in my phone. The pointlessly hard. There's a whole subcategory within this.
Okay.
Pointlessly hard. Ornstein and Smo.
That's not pointlessly hard.
Okay.
That's
now listen.
Nearly okay. What?
Chris went back and played it again and beat it on his second try or something.
Yeah.
Me, I didn't have any trouble
without online co-op. By the way, it's not like I let someone do it for me.
Before that, I had no trouble. The hardest one was the Bell Gargoyles. I didn't have issues with any of them, until this one. This one was just so irritating. But okay, first of all, the best strategy to employ if you want to do it safely is to summon Solaire.
That's what I did.
Because you go into the fight, and hopefully, if you do it right, he will distract one of them, and you can focus on one.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem with that is, and where the bullshit comes in, the room where you summon him is filled with not extremely difficult, but extremely annoying enemies.
Cumbersome enemies, I'd say.
There's 2, giant, armored people.
Yeah.
And if you don't kill them,
Solaire will attack
them and either be killed by them, as he was in a few of my tries, or come into the fight, nearly dead. And that's what happened most of the time. I just tried to run in there and hope that he would run right past them. But I'd be in the boss room trying to struggle with the boss myself and look behind me, and I see his life bars going lower and lower and lower, and someone flying down and landing on their back.
Yeah.
And it was so irritating. I probably did this fight 40 times before I finally got it. And you know what the trick was that I just wasn't getting?
What?
Kill Ornstein.
The Dragon Slayer, the skinny guy, right?
Because he's worse in the second phase than Smo is.
He is, because he's big and fast.
Yes. Smo is really big and pretty damn slow.
It's funny, because I killed the big guy first on mine.
So, you do that, but the problem is, then the rest of the fight, if you're reasonably leveled, is undoable unless you do, like I described to you, a ring around the rosy with a pillar. Like a broken pillar.
I remember doing that the first time I played the game, yeah.
And, I think but I did that because, I tried to give it, a fair shake. I'm just going to take this guy head on. I'm going to shield. I'm going to block and jump around just as I need to. And I just kept getting slaughtered. And so I just resigned to the idea, I'm just going to chip away at this guy and make this a 20-minute fight and beat it. And it worked. Well, the second time I did it.
I killed Smo, the big guy, first, and Ornstein, takes his power, gets big, and has his moveset.
They kill each other.
But, that fight's, probably harder. What?
I was going to take a sip of something, and I hoped you would have kept going. But
when you make gestures, it
was like, come on, keep going, keep going. I did the, twirling hands.
I thought you were telling me to speed up.
No! That would be, that's like a timeout thing.
You're, pointing at you. Yeah, I know, I see it.
There's a blood-starved beast on the wall. But
Like the Ornstein fight when he gets big is like more like it's just like a normal fight, but it's really hard. But what you did was like an exploit where you played with the columns and shit, right?
What I would do is I would get him. I would start circling they were broken like pillars or columns at this point, and he would, in a much slower fashion, like kind of go around them, following me, and I would just jump in for a second after he did a really heavy attack and had to recover, and get 1, maybe 2 hits if I was feeling bold, and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Which, at my level and with the weapon I had at the time, or the level of the weapon, it was just awful. It took so long, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
That's not fun, because you realize I'm exploiting the game, and it feels like the only thing I can do at this point to win is exploit it. And
well, it's like what Matthew Matosis mentioned once. He was like, the only reason you lose is because you got so bored because it was taking so long.
Well, that's Dark Souls too.
You wanted to get an extra hit in, so he killed you.
Well, that's the whole...
Well, see, I didn't have that experience with that fight. Mine was pretty straightforward. It's just like, I don't know.
What about the first time you played it? Can you even remember that?
I don't really remember.
When you didn't know.
Well, like I was saying...
Because you went into this knowing what you did to win.
I do remember using the columns for him to, shield some of the momentum from his attacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it would kind of get hung up for a second.
Yeah.
Give me some more time. But yeah, that's what I did the first time. That's what I remember.
But to me, that whole... I mean, I just walked away from that after basically what the failure was that my failure in that
keeping that in.
My failing was in the fact that I didn't pin down my strategy and kept trying to do... It was the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting change when it's not going to come. I didn't change up my strategy at all. And so because I did that, I walked away from that boss feeling extremely negative. Like that was an unreasonable boss, or one that you would have to be so massively over-leveled to make doable.
Well, sometimes it's just luck of the draw, like the way the enemies behave,
Because
what moves they choose. Because, I mean, I've had fights in this recent playthrough that you said were just a fucking joke.
Like what?
Nito.
Oh, yeah!
And he killed me 3 or 4 times.
I beat Nito on my first try. And I felt like, what?
I gotta get rid of this. Hold on. Keep going.
But I just kind of want to move on.
Son of a fucking God, where'd it go?
It went under.
Fuck! Where are you?
Fuck. It's a really old building Chris lives in, so he has a lot of friends.
Get out.
Oh, it's in the middle now. It's in the middle now. It's very close to your alcoholic beverage.
No, it's gone. He drank it. Oh,
yeah, he drank it.
Get out.
Great peril. He's coming to me now.
No, he's down here.
Oh my God. Can we leave? Can we leave this in?
No, it's down.
Chris, this is bad. This is bad news.
Got him. I got him.
Underground corpse pile.
I got. Probably what is down there, huh?
Under table.
Okay.
Can we please leave that in?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Just kind of playing it up for
this is what happens when you live on an old part of town in an older building.
Yeah.
Because when I lived at home, my first home was in, it used to be by your high school. And that's an older part of town. And all the houses are old. Yeah. And so we had horrifying things coming out of the walls. Just terrible monstrosities. But I'm going to get back to Dark Souls because that's what that game is all about. I'm moving on from Ornstein and Smo. Because Chris seems to want to chalk it all off as being, it's hype. Don't feed into the hype.
It is. It's a hard fight. There's no doubt about that.
No.
I got lucky.
No. Some of the Dark Souls bosses I've beaten, Dark Souls 3 bosses I've beaten in a few attempts were really hard fights. This was a fucking big-ass roadblock for me. It took me 2 weeks to do this shit. It was awful. I hated it. Oh. But it's probably going to be, I'm going to replay it. And with not even a new game cycle, but a new file, and just slaughter it the first few attempts. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, now on to second pointlessly hard boss.
Okay, yes.
4 Kings. Which
So I think it's the hardest boss in the game.
it was easier to me than Ornstein and Smough.
I beat it my first try.
Great. Well, I beat Needle my first try.
I'm just here to disparage you because I beat that game in like 11 and a half hours.
And I took about 80. I took 80 hours to beat mine. And there was a good bit of idling, but still, I spent way more than I needed to with that game.
There was a point in this latest playthrough I was like, okay, actually, I'm doing this so fast, I want to like go as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Cool speed run.
Yeah, thanks. I missed the world record by like 10 and a half hours.
Okay. Four Kings is a boss where you go into it, and after a minute, he starts to spawn more copies of himself, correct? And it's like each minute it happens. There's another one, right?
I don't know if it's that.
It's a minute, 30 seconds, something.
It's also funny that the Four Kings, there are 5 of them.
Well, it can, like, there was some video on YouTube about, like, how many kings can you really spawn?
I thought it was only 5.
I think if you... There's like an exploit to spawn more.
Oh.
I'm telling you, you should look it up. It's crazy.
I think if you just wait there and don't kill them, you'll fight 5.
If you can survive. But, so, the problem with this is... Don't forget this is under the category bosses of bullshit. I was at a decent level at this point. I was like level 88. And I went into this thing with a plus 10 weapon buffed with something that made it should have turned the tables, right in my direction. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but and like the goal with this boss is get in and do as much damage as possible
before the next one comes.
Massively before the next one comes. But it seemed like they just came in so much faster than they should have. Or I would spend so much time shielding from this boss that each time he hit me, my stamina meter was gone. Just gone, and I would get just picked apart. Especially when there were points where like all of them were in there, and there's like a grace period when a new one comes in where it won't come over and attack you.
Yeah.
It'll actually kind of watch you fight one of them.
That's how I always take it. It's like I'm getting the first one down to just a little bit of health, and the other one shows up, then the first one's dead.
I don't even have that much more to say about it. It's just... You made me think this boss was going to be so much worse, but I killed it after about 8 tries, which compared to like
well, that's still like really fucking hard.
But compared to the like 40 Ornstein and Smough fights, that's different. And that's another thing. Like, it was a long way from Firelink Shrine all the way to that boss in the Abyss. That's what I had to do.
It's not that long.
But at least I didn't have to clear enemies. I could run past everything. With Ornstein and Smough, I had to clear enemies for Solaire.
Yeah, that's true.
I had to take down the archer by the summon sign. I tried to always get at least one of the big armored dudes, and it was just so like by the time I finished doing that, I was like, fuck, I don't even want to do this fight. Okay, on from the Four Kings, because I think I was just shocked like that I did it as quickly as I did, even though I struggled. I don't know. But last of pointlessly hard bosses of bullshit is Gwyn. Which to me, I think the developers Dark Souls 2'd it. Just a bit. Because that boss is so psychotically aggressive.
Yeah, you don't have time to heal.
You don't have any time to recover from anything.
Yeah.
So, you resort to an exploit.
The parrying.
And the only way I beat it, my last playthrough of it, of the fight, when I beat him, I did it like 9 times in a row, and he didn't hit me.
Yeah.
And so the fight isn't fun. That's
true.
not fun.
That's true.
At all. Because I tried to fight him fairly.
It's hard.
And I was just wrecked each time. And so I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to fucking parry him over and over and over. At that point, it's just like, this is bad design.
Yeah.
This is not well thought out. So, those are the bosses. Do you have any like counter argument or anything about that?
Not about Gwyn.
You don't have any defense of Gwyn?
Not really. I mean, I parried him probably like 2 or 3 times in mine. And I'm terrible at parrying, but it sometimes is the only thing
I got
you can do.
good at it, even though that's the kind of... It's like playing a classical instrument. If you don't do it every single day, you're fucked.
You lose it.
You lose it instantly.
It's like we were talking about with languages and programming.
You use it,
stuff.
you lose it. Yeah. Now on to the second part of bosses of bullshit. Stupidly easy. Like, there are many bosses in this game that are hyped up to be like, oh my god, this is a defining character that shaped the whole world. He's going to be impossible. Nito, for me, I clobbered Nito. Like, I went over to him, he was slow moving, I took massive damage off of him with an unbuffed weapon.
So you didn't have to deal with the skeletons around you?
I knew about the skeletons.
What
What you do is you fall in, and there's 2 or 3 skeletons that are just kind of trolling about.
Yes.
Take them out before he even gets over to you.
With a divine weapon.
Yes, the club. I had the divine club because it's the easiest one to get. You can get it really quickly. And they didn't come back, and it was just me and him.
Actually, that reminds me of what I was going to say is, like, I think the first time I fought Nito, I remember there being skeletons in the back that if you run to Nito, they'll, like, aggro and you'll have to fight all of them at once.
There's bigger skeletons, yeah.
But what I did is drop in. I was like, okay, I'll wait for him to come to me and deal with it. But then, like, 2 smaller skeletons are down there, and they just kept hitting me in the back. And I didn't have a divine weapon. So I couldn't get rid of them.
The combination of the divine weapon and me just clearing the arena and letting him come to me, that's how I had the advantage over you.
Yeah, and then so I didn't have any divine weapon, so I had to run all the way back up to Firelink and get the blacksmith and stuff and get a divine weapon, level it up.
See, here's the thing.
Then it was easy, yeah.
Here's the thing about this series. I've told you in the past, specifically with Zelda games and stuff, I will not use guides. With this series, after Bloodborne, with this game, specifically this game, I said, time to use guides. I don't give a fuck. Even if I know...
How'd you figure out where the 4 kings were?
I probably just read a guide.
I thought you just said you didn't use them.
No, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not done.
I caught you.
I don't have any examples at the moment, but there are some things, like, try to plunge. No one told me to do that. The tutorial did not tell me you can plunge. They didn't tell me a plunging attack existed. So how would I know to try to do that? How would I know that existed in the game's code? You know? Like, so they don't tell you their core mechanics and some of the best strategies. So I told myself, even if you do get the cheapest, easiest strategy and you don't figure it out yourself, it's still going to be a hard fight. So it doesn't matter. Because I'm not saying, like we've said in these Souls games, it's tough, but it's fair. I feel like Dark Souls, that scale was tipped to be the game is more unfair and unforgiving than Bloodborne. I don't think so.
I think you just weren't used to some of the mechanics of it. Because it's the first
You still say Bloodborne is the hardest one in this series, and I think that game's a joke compared to Dark Souls 1.
You've played it so much.
It doesn't matter. There's just that game is... I don't know. We don't need to get into that. But, like, I don't know. So I used guides, and I'm not ashamed to say it because it's fucking Dark Souls. And you've probably looked up a few things in your day.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Because I used to think that was a mark of shame. You are a loser. You're an idiot. You can't figure it out. But some things just... Like, some of the illusory walls, it's like, come on. No one would think to do that.
Yeah. Especially the one in the Great Hollow behind the chest.
Yes!
Because, like, that kind of signifies, like, that route has ended with the chest, but then there's one right behind it.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
But, next pointlessly easy one, even though Nito might not be, I was just overinformed, you know?
Well, yeah, that kind of boils down to that.
Can we talk about Pinwheel? Any choice comments about Pinwheel?
I can beat him in one combo, yeah.
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 It didn't take me any time. That is it's a hard area.
I remember, like, every time I get to Pinwheel, though, I remember how easy it is, and then I think, oh my god, what if I die on this? How much shame I would feel.
I'd have to kill myself.
Then you run up, and it's like, oh no, this is so fucking easy.
Yeah.
It's like every time I play the game.
If you actually look up the lore of that boss, that's a cool boss. You know the lore
about him now.
It's like
he's such an afterthought.
It's like
just goes by.
Two members of a sorcerer's family died or something, and he resurrected them, but the only way to do it was by fusing their bodies into him. And so they're all like stuck and connected to him underneath that cloak.
Did you read the item description for like the Mask of the Child or whatever?
I did at some point, but
yeah,
I don't remember.
Extra life.
Everybody check out Fextra Life Dark Souls, my favorite site. I check it out, and they have wicked bad pop-ups.
Great Jeep ads.
Next. The Demon Fire Sage, which is a reskin of the Asylum Demon.
I mentioned that Centipede Demon might be my least favorite.
I love it.
Fire Sage is the worst. That's the worst boss in the whole game. It's the third fucking time you fight that guy, and now he just has a little more range. But how boring.
That area.
And what a pointless area for a boss to be in.
Yeah.
Like, all he does is block your path.
He's an obstruction.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Like, at least the Centipede Demon gives you the ring that lets you move on lava.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, this Fire Stage is like, I fought this guy already.
Yeah.
And this time he's just a little bit harder.
I wasn't bothered. It was like, okay, this is stupid.
Oh, no,
but
I remember fighting that. I was
kicked
like,
his ass.
I remember fighting that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this sucks.
I kicked his ass and was like, well, that's over. Next. I didn't even mind it. It was awesome. Just ruthlessly destroy him.
I hate every boss in that area.
I like that area, actually. The whole direction of the Lost Izalith? Izalith?
I hate that. Everything after Quaalag.
Which is it?
Izalith.
Okay. You sure? Izalith sounds more fantasy than Izalith, so go with that. That was just a stupid reskin, practically.
It was. Like, it just was.
The Bed of Chaos, which you were very irritated by, another enemy in that area, was a goofball of a boss for me. There's no like back and forth. There's no dance to that fight. It's just hit this, hit that, hit the middle.
Yeah.
And it's like swatting at you and dropping floor tiles. Like, and you have to jump on a specific branch to run up into it. What did you say about it? You were like irritated.
I don't remember, but I think what happened is you went to the opposite side that I did first.
Yeah.
And then
quit out of the game.
I didn't quit. I just died.
That's a cool exploit.
I just went to run around because it doesn't reset the boss. Like when
the
you hit
hardest fought.
No, hold on. I went to the left side, and you said you went to the right side first.
Yeah.
And apparently, after I looked it up, it was like it's much harder to go to the right side second.
No, the hardest part
is
the hardest part of the fight is going from one side to the other completely. If you can just skip back down and run over to a side.
Do what I did though.
Yeah. But if
running to the right side second is so fucking hard, it's unbelievable. I must have done it 10 times.
Just run to the right, get in there, nothing can hit you, quit out of the game, you'll be at the boss door, but that same side you attack is dead. And you just drop back down.
Yes, I know.
And run, but do it for the podcast. Run to the left and then run to the middle. And it's like, wow, that was stupid.
Well, if you die, it still doesn't reset what you've hit.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's what happens.
But still.
But what I'm saying, that's what I'm getting at, is I hit the left side first, and like every time I went to the right side, that big stupid fucking hand would come down and swipe me, and every time it did it, I'd lose my stamina, or it would almost be gone. So what I finally figured out is shield this way, because it would like go sweeping one way and then back the other. So what I finally did is I ran down there and shielded the way I knew it was coming. My guy would stagger for a second, then I turn around immediately and shield the other way. And I finally got there, but it took me so many tries. It's a stupid, and it should be easy, but sometimes the way it behaves is so erratic and awful.
It's fascinating to me that when we have very different interpretations of the difficulty of the same bosses. I love it. It's the best. Like, oh, that one was horrible. Oh no, it's easy. That's awesome. Because that's like that type of game it is. Each player is going to get a very different experience, and that's what makes it so unique and interesting. Well, there's a lot that makes it unique and interesting, but enough about this write-off of a boss. I already mentioned the Demon Fire Sage in my notes, but I also wrote Asylum Demon. Same boss, stupid, irritating, but it's a tutorial boss.
Did you beat the thing that gives you access to the painted world?
I'm trying to remember what that was.
You go back to the asylum where you start.
Oh, I never did that. Yeah,
that's why I was saying it's the third time. You fall under there when you come back, and you fight the asylum demon, but he's just stronger.
That's why I was lost. I was like, wait a minute.
And the fire sage is the third time.
Okay, because I was like, there's only 2.
Yeah, no, there's 3.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't do that because the whole painted world section of the game sounded like a fucking chore.
That's cool.
The fact that you can't get out, it's like, no, we're not doing that. Because there's a painted world in Dark Souls 3 in the DLC, and you can get out.
I think you can.
I don't think you can get out until you beat it.
I think you. You might be right. I think you might be able to get out if you got in the Lord Vessel and could teleport, though.
Maybe. But that turned me off enough to say, I'll do this in another playthrough.
Yeah.
Because I would. You know what? This is the funniest thing about that. I kept telling myself, I have to beat this before I get to Texas. I have to have at least beaten this game. And it took me so long. And then I beat it. I beat Dark Souls in like a week, it felt like. Like a week.
3.
Or Dark Souls 3, sorry. I beat it in, it felt like a week and a half. Because you helped me with every boss. We co-opted the entire game almost. And to me, it was like, wow, Dark Souls 1 was this ungodly trek. This thing that took almost over 2 years. Because of the way I played it. And then, Dark Souls 3 is just done.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I fit Dark Souls 3 in too, and it took no time. I thought I wasn't going to be able to beat Dark Souls 1. This was at the point when I was like stuck on Ornstein and Smo. I was like, I feel like I'm halfway through the game.
Pretty much.
The final stupidly easy boss, and this is an optional boss, the Moonlight Butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
That boss was so stupid.
Mostly about having a modicum of patience.
Yeah, it was a neat and figuring out the dodge pattern.
The music's kind of neat.
And they reused it with Dark Sun Gwendolyn or whatever.
Yeah, also an optional
Also
boss.
a very easy boss, but I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool.
I didn't fight
Some
her.
people don't like
I didn't
him,
fight
her.
her on mine. Yeah.
It's him. But it's also her. It's a him. It's a her. It's a him.
It's a son that was raised as a girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would want me to call... I'm not going to talk about it. Right. Now on to the enjoyable bosses. The ones that I thought were well-balanced, well worth it, fair, and great. Sif.
Sif is...
Number one fan favorite boss from that
my
game.
favorite.
Sif is cool. I think Matthew Matosis makes the point when he's arguing about the Royal Rat Authority, which is a fucking reskin but awful in Dark Souls 2 of Sif.
We've joked about several times on this trip. The Royal Rat... What a name.
Like, you don't understand the motivations of the Royal Rat Authority. It just appears with ancillary poison spitters.
Sif, he's like this very regal, noble...
And he's proud,
thing.
and he's doing something noble, yes.
Yeah.
He's guarding the grave of his master.
And also, the way that fight goes, and not everyone sees it because they just keep swinging, but if you get it down a really low health...
I didn't get it either.
I did. It starts limping, and all of its attacks is it's over encumbered and heavy.
And it's sad.
And falls over sometimes. It's so, like you said, it's just proud. It's cool.
There's something about finding Sif in the abyss, or some sort of area.
You can in the DLC.
In the
you
DLC.
You find him as a pup.
Whoa. Yeah. I might have... Man,
I haven't played it.
Might have to buy it.
And I've heard from...
Might have to load it up in my file.
Addison, it's as essential as Bloodborne DLC.
And also they say it's freakishly difficult. Yeah. You thought Dark Souls, the regular game, was the worst. Every boss is oppressive. And impossible. Insurmountable, even. Like I said earlier, I won't talk about it because I already talked about it. The Bell Gargoyles. I thought that was a very good educational boss.
I always think of that as a stepping stone boss.
Yeah.
It's just okay, do this.
Now we're serious.
Yeah.
Now this is where we differ. I really enjoyed the Centipede Demon.
No.
What your gripes were, you couldn't get it to stay in one place, and so it was annoying.
Well, it would sit in the lava before I had the ring, so I couldn't hit it, and it would just throw shit at me.
Can you get the ring before that fight?
You can.
That's what I did.
You can, but you have to cut off its tail.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But I couldn't do it.
Why? It kept hitting you?
No, it was just I couldn't reach it.
Oh.
That's the thing. That's why it's interesting to talk about the enemy behavior. Some of the things behave one way for you, some one way for me. But the Centipede Demon just went in the lava, and I just couldn't hit it, and it would shoot fire at me. I just couldn't do anything.
I got it, and the fight, I got it the first...
I didn't die to it, but I was just what? Come on! The whole time.
It followed me over to one corner where there's the most landmass, and it was just a great fun, wow, I'm on the edge of my seat. Wow, this is exciting. Wow, I did it. Wow, this was great.
It was just me sitting there going, come on, hurry, come here.
The next one is I really enjoyed the Quelaag fight. I thought that was a cool fucking fight.
Interesting.
What's your take on that one?
I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I think it's okay.
I like the presentation of that fight. I like the story behind those characters and like the sisters and whatnot.
I think what happens to me is I'm so burnt out by the time I get to the bottom of Blighttown.
Oh my god. Blighttown was not that bad. It was bad, but you make it out to be this just, oh, it's awful, no!
It's not hard.
It's annoying.
It's the frame rate.
I didn't have that much of a problem with it. In fact, I
think I texted you while I was there, and I was just like, man, every time I come back to this game and play Blighttown, it just seems to perform worse.
Take the wind out of me.
It does.
The worst part for me was being poisoned constantly, and I just said, oh, this is awful.
If it ran smoothly, like if we played it on PC, it'd probably be a really cool place.
Last one, and this is what I don't have a great reason for this. I did it with you last year, the Gaping Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
In retrospect, a fairly easy boss, but the fact that it's easy to beat and it's awesomely huge, it's like I really did something and it wasn't that bad.
Also, the little teaser at the beginning where you think it's just a little like.
Oh weird. Yeah, I like everything about that. The presentation of that boss.
Cool.
I was like, this is awesome.
That is cool.
This is great. And now moving on to worst and best areas. I'm really not going to get much into these. I'm going to have a sentence for each one, maybe. Worst areas. Blighttown.
Yeah.
Frame rate, misery, horrible, laggy, annoying enemies.
Toxin.
Yeah. Or just those stupid big fat bugs that were like flying around. They go, "Rrr."
Oh, the reuse.
And one of them just
reuse sound effect from Demon Souls.
One of them just sprays fire, and I just have to say, what are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. Second worst area, New Londo Ruins.
I feel the same way about that. I think I told you whenever I get to New Londo, it's just try to get through here as fast as possible.
Just run through it. And the fact
plus you have to have that item that lets you like make contact with the ghost.
Yes, the transient curse.
Yeah.
And I did that so many times that I got to the point where I kept dying to like the dark wraiths or whatever that I just said I'm just going to keep running through this. And you should be able to, I'm not saying easily pick off enemies, but there shouldn't be a catch to fight an enemy. There shouldn't be like, okay, you have to have this. It's like, okay.
So I never thought that part was that bad.
The enemies
I just
hard.
get like kind of flustered with all the enemies.
The enemies are hard enough that I shouldn't have to pay to fight a hard enemy or a difficult like the easiest enemy in Dark Souls is pretty hard compared to most games.
Yeah. Like
you jump on a Goomba's head and that's it. But like an enemy that requires there's a little bit of a struggle, you have to pay to do it. Fuck that. That's annoying. They're not that hard, like unless they gang up on you though. Because when you try to run through it, there's a few areas in the inside of what it is, like a cathedral or a church.
They come out of the wall.
They have those long fucking arms, and they keep following you. It's like, stop this. Yeah. I can't even walk through the room. I can't even run through the room. That area was also just drab and awful and poorly lit and obnoxious. Tomb of the Giants.
This is least favorite?
This is worst areas.
Oh, okay. Like you're putting your foots down.
Yeah, these are shut up.
All right.
These are objectively the worst areas. It's not my opinion. This is law. Fuck. This area is just. It's just taxing. It's just the whole thing is pitch black. Walk along these fucking beams and follow a small point of light. It's like no.
Did you have a torch?
The skull torch, the little hanging thing.
Well, there's there's that, and then there's the sunlight maggot.
I didn't have that because I don't think you get it until you're like halfway through the Tomb of the Giants. I didn't have the other one.
I think you get it after you kill Solaire in Lost Izalith.
I didn't do that. Yeah. I didn't follow through with his storyline. That's another reason I want to replay the game. No, but and then okay, it's pitch black and awful, and you can fall off everywhere. But there's also insane powerful skeletons. Who gang up on you, and once you get through them, you get to reach fucking patches.
And he kicks you down the hole.
I was stupid enough to fall for it. And when you get down there, it's just another wretched area with horrible stacks of bodies chasing you. And then, like, hunter-style, like, human NPCs waiting down. What the fuck? Like, it's bad enough I got kicked down here and have to deal with this, but it's a fucking... Oh, God! Yeah, that's, Tomb of the Giants. But, you know, actually, there's a part in Tomb of the Giants I really like. When you can, like, look up, there's, like, you get out of the dark area, and you're walking along, like, a cliffside, and you look up, and you see, like, the sky, and what kind of looks like Ash Lake trees.
Yeah, it is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I don't mind, like, the area that's still well lit, where you fight, like, those mages right before Nido. I don't mind that area.
Yeah.
It's just fucking turn off the lights. Fuck that.
Personally, I like Tomb of the Giants more than the Catacombs.
Oh, I don't like either.
I find the Catacombs to just be a labyrinthian nightmare.
Last but not least, and I know it's a Dark Souls meme, it's like the Ornstein and Smo of areas, Sin's Fortress.
I think that area is fine. I like it. I like Sin's Fortress.
There is one part in particular along the, like, you're getting close to the end, where when you're getting close to the area where the giant boulder is being hit by the thing that you can turn, where it's just the most narrow path, and there's a few swinging things, and there's like 3 different lightning mages.
Yes, yeah.
And 2 like big snake heads are chasing you while you're trying to get across there. And I died so many times. And just fuck that area. Anything else to say before I move on to best areas?
No.
End on a positive note. Best areas on Orlando. Even though I hate the boss, I love the area. I hated those archers, but I love the area. That's probably the coolest part of that game.
I think it's one of the coolest things when the gargoyles take you up and you find this shiny golden city.
Yes.
So much cleaner than everything you've seen before. Like, that's cool.
And I think the mythos behind it is awesome. The idea that all the gods have fled and that, like, the reject, like, minor god is, like, keeping an illusion open of sunlight.
That's
and
right.
and Guinevere.
Yeah.
It's all fake. And it's not to mention great chest to head, weak spot, tight spot.
Weakness, tight spot.
Weakness, tight. That might be it. Weak spot, tight spot. Weakness, tight spot. This player is so stupid and good. The whole area is awesome. And also, there's so much to do in that area.
It's also how you access the painted world.
I was about to say, you can go down to the painted world. I went to that area and, like, fought all those horrible painting keepers. And I was just like, I walked up to it and looked at the painting, even without the item to get in there, and just said, next time, you know, not gonna do it. I love how I've entered this dark root everything.
You really?
Wait,
you like it? You
like
it.
dark
I was about
root.
to say I like it too.
There is so much cool stuff in there. Even though the Moonlight Butterfly is a easy ass stupid boss, I like it. Like, it's cool. Mm-hmm. And you can see it from Firelink or somewhere, I think.
Well, I just had one time where I died in, like, Darkroot Garden or Basin, and then maybe I just forgot to get a bonfire, and I was looking from Firelink, and I could see, like, the glowing soul.
Yes, man.
And I was just like, what the... We could talk about that.
Yes.
But I was just like, wow, I didn't realize everything was, like, geographically, like, it made sense.
Yes.
That's why I always say that game is like a masterclass in level design and interconnectivity.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, there's just so many cool things in this one area. And you have unique, different cool things in different areas. Like, you meet the Basilisk, the Hydra for the first time here. And when I first approached that, I was like, oh, God!
Exactly.
Horror! And it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I see, it's like, wow, there's crystal golems. And, like, this the area where you fight, like, the
Havel.
No, they're like
Havel's down there, too.
The warriors of Astoria or whatever. They're like human NPC looking people.
Oh,
it's when you open the seal.
Yeah.
Going toward his grave. That's awesome. What a cool area. It's gorgeous and neat. Like, the whole area is so cool. And Sif.
Yeah.
So this is where Sif lives. Now this is when I talked to you at length about. There's this area called Ash Lake. It's like it's almost like leftover assets that were just put there in the game or stuck there and left. But that's cool. It's like it's just you climb. It starts.
It's a very
like the Blighttown area.
Yes, it's a very arduous and also hard to access area.
It's
unless
a journey.
you're like in the know.
It's a fucking journey.
But the journey down that tree with all the basilisks and the mushroom people, like it's not easy. It's not easy to get down there, and you finally do, and it's a covenant.
Yeah,
It's always like been so disappointing to me. But it's such a cool place.
like the whole experience, like you climb down this wretched tree.
Yeah.
This awful tree with mushroom freaks and these cursing fucking basilisks. That's what they're called, right? And you get to the bottom, you've climbed down for what feels like miles on this intricate root system. And then it's like, oh look, there's the sky.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I also think it's one of the most visually stunning areas, and that's why I think it's very disappointing that there's very little to it in terms of gameplay. When you get to the bottom of Ash Lake,
Yeah.
you find that dragon and you pray to it, and then you're done there. Unless you want to kill the Hydra for fun.
The whole area, it's got music. It's got cool ass music.
That's right.
It's got really weird. It's like that's the thing. These games use so little music in the main areas, and then like special areas. Dude, it's awesome. Like the first time you go to Hypogean Jail.
Yeah,
and
and also
Bloodborne.
Upper Cathedral Ward and Bloodborne.
Yeah. Even
And
though the areas.
but other than that, Ash Lake. Is there anything else? Well, I guess when you get killed by Seath the first time and you're in the jail.
Oh yeah.
But that's also like diegetic music and not just coming from
right.
the game. That's just like in the environment
But
still.
I had a good ass night. The first night I experienced Ash Lake. It was just wow. I found something incredible. No one has said anything. Like reading guides and like stuff that would spoil things to come. I didn't know this place was here, and I just happened upon it, and it was just wow and cool. And this is the first time I saw the crab enemies on the beach, the ones that are in the Crystal Cave.
Wait,
Big
what?
crab guys. They're big crabs.
Where?
They're at Ash Lake and in the Crystal Cave right before the Seath fight.
The clams. They're clams. Yes, they're clams.
I'm thinking of Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. But I know
Whatever!
yeah.
Mixing up my Souls games. Well, whatever. They were great. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's weird. That's new. A totally unique enemy for a random, pointless area. Mm-hmm. Cool. So,
I think if you bother with it, I'm not sure if his name is the same, but the Onion Knight, Siegward or whatever. Siegmeyer in that game. That's where his quest ends, in Ash Lake.
Yeah, because you find him in the poison swamp outside there, and you give him the poison moss clump. I never found him after that.
I'm not sure what to do.
Or the purple moss clump, excuse me.
I'm not entirely sure what all the steps for his quest are, but that's where it ends, is down there.
Well, anyway, I also kind of liked the Crystal Cave, even though a lot of people complained about
With the invisible platforms?
Yeah, like a lot of people really hate that, but it's really obvious. There's snow, there's snow-looking stuff falling, and you just run straight across. It's not hard, and it's just neat. And there's moonlight butterflies.
That's right.
Because they're a Seath creation.
Oh yeah.
Just everywhere, and they're not hostile unless you attack them.
Man, the stuff like that, just like the subtle nods at some of the lore and backstory of everything, that it's not obvious, but if you piece it together, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
neat. That's so cool. We were watching the Matthew Matos's video on Dark Souls 2, unfortunately. But he makes a cool point about how Miyazaki, the creator of the Souls series, he got a lot of these ideas by watching Western stuff that he didn't know. He couldn't understand some of the finer words because of translation issues.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole idea
You fill
started.
in the gaps.
You fill it in yourself.
And that's what makes it better.
Yeah, that's cool. That's so neat.
So, in brief, I can't say it's better than Bloodborne,
I don't think it is.
but Dark Souls 1 is a really great game.
I respect that game.
Really great.
I respect that game maybe more than...
Almost any.
Yeah.
It's a really great game.
Yeah,
It's just wow. And I mean, I almost just said to be done at that time, but it was 2011.
Yeah.
And that game looks like it came from 2005. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
it doesn't look
It
that
doesn't-
bad, but I
looks
mean,
fine.
it doesn't look. It looks older than when it came out.
I don't think
feel
so.
like.
I don't think so.
Anyway, I'm eager to play Demon Souls. I can't even get into I can't even get into Dark Souls 3, which I've beaten and I'm almost halfway through on the second playthrough. It's an incredible game too. It's great. I don't know where to begin. I can't talk about it. We talked too much about Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Play Dark Souls 3. You might like what you find. Kind of like Bloodborne, but a little bit of a mix. Well, you just brought up where East meets West. I'm conquering the segues tonight. Trigun.
Yes.
We gunned through. Well, there were a lot of guns in it. But we barged through 26 episodes of Trigun. An anime that, as I described to Chris after watching...
I think you said it's not the objectively best, but it's your favorite.
Yes.
Right?
It is. Cowboy Bebop is very... It's got silly moments, but it's pretty serious compared to a lot of older animes. I describe Trigun as Jeff Gerstmann does certain things.
An
Anime-ass anime. I mean, you got crazy comic book faces, people going blah, blah, blah.
What is it, Chibi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like silly things, odd, like, but then the show turns like into this odd second half where there's these episodes that are just so serious and like depressing.
Yeah.
And it's, where did this come from? And so the fact that the show was so silly before intensifies the serious episodes. And I don't have a lot to say about it. We'll get into like
I think we should save
what?
Should we save the bulk of it for another time or cover it now?
The what?
The bulk of it.
I think we should just try
Just
to
go ahead
do
and
it
do
in
it.
brief, man.
All right.
I don't know how, even after watching it with you, I haven't watched it in years. I don't have that much to say about it.
Okay. Well, then I'll pose this question: why do you think it took you so long for you to finally show it to me? Because, as we discussed while watching it, you were surprised at how receptive I was. And I wasn't hypercritical about it.
Well, we've known each other long enough that if
I'm not, and I wasn't putting on a guise like you might have thought at some point.
We've known each other long enough that if we tell each other, like, you should see this, we're going to give it a fair shake and won't make up, like, our minds until the end.
Okay, yeah.
And so there's not going to be parts where it's just, like, something dumb happens, like, fuck this!
Yeah.
This is awful! I'm done! There's none of that, like, let's stop watching this. We never really were, but... I don't know. It's just...
I guess it's like a trust thing. It's like, you say this is so good, so I'm going to stick through. Even the parts that might be a little whatever, I'm going to stick it through to the end because
exactly.
You say it's worth it.
Was it worth it?
Well, I was going to say, even though I never found anything that repulsive in it, yes, it was worth it.
Like, it's just it's like I said about Bloodborne. This is a flavor I never knew existed.
Color.
Like this, or a color, or yeah.
Same
flavor
difference,
works
but yes.
too.
Yes.
It's like what a unique look at like a medium. And what did you think about how like an Eastern group of people interpreted a very Western, literally, concept?
You're talking about like cowboy stuff?
Yeah.
That's so funny you brought that up because I mentioned recently, I think to you that I watched an old samurai movie called Yojimbo.
Yes.
That's where like all Western tropes come from. Is samurai
Really?
movies. Seriously. Like
Which makes it even cooler.
there's an old Clint Eastwood movie, part of the I think called I can't remember. Whatever. His character is a nameless character, and I can't think of the name at the moment. But those Clint Eastwood movies, Good, the Bad, the Ugly,
Yeah.
Fistful of Dollars, and For a Few Dollars More.
Good stuff.
So, for instance, in Yojimbo, which was created, of course, before those movies,
Correct.
from the director Akira Kurosawa,
Hey.
he has a scene that's just directly ripped off in those movies where, like the bodyguard, the main character of Yojimbo, is about to kill like some ruffians in the town.
Yeah.
And he like says to a coffin maker in the town, "Get 3 coffins ready." He says that very plainly. And that's just directly, and he kills the guys, and they're all ready. That's just like directly, word for word, ripped off, and for a few dollars more. Like Clint Eastwood goes, "Get coffins ready."
Sorry,
It's the same thing.
Hold on to your point, but it's funny just in the context of a Western, coffins being mentioned in Trigun. There's an episode where like it's something about a town where like someone who's a coffin maker makes a deal, and then a bunch of people die, and he makes a fortune. Because,
it might
and he
be
builds a house of wood.
It might be a nod to that. For
I don't. That's all for all I know.
But I thought that was interesting that you brought that up because a lot of Western stuff in that regard is directly descended from Japanese samurai movies.
It's incredible irony, almost.
Yeah,
almost.
Sergio Leone, I'm sure, had a tremendous amount of respect for his Kurosawa stuff. Obviously,
right.
I don't want to say he ripped it off, but it's definitely a huge
homage
nod. Yes. So I thought that was funny that you brought that up. So I think that the Eastern take on Westerns is pretty natural, really.
So how did Trigun do? Made by the mastermind Yoshiro Naitao.
Has he done anything since?
He's done other stuff, but like, Trigun is his bread and butter.
Yeah.
No, that's his bread and butter.
Okay.
And keep in mind, this show is 20 years old, just like Cowboy Bebop.
That's so crazy.
Like
so
you are barely 20 years old. I'm barely 25.
Yeah.
But give me something. Tell me about the show. Just give me your just a read. It's cool. End. Tell me something.
I thought it was badass.
Like, talk about the music. Talk about the character. Something. Give me anything.
I think at one point you brought up how music dictates a lot of things, and just it plays into certain scenes very heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said one of my favorite things about making like stupid little videos or whatever for class or just for fun is, and watching movies too, is just the way music impacts a scene, and that is very, very apparent in this series. Same with Cowboy Bebop. It often dictates the mood.
I noticed this first with Trigun when I was a kid. This show and Cowboy Bebop, as I've mentioned before, were the shows, I think they aired at the same time on Adult Swim back when I was a very young kid. They'd come on at like midnight and beyond.
Yeah.
I'd sneak into the den, hide under a table, turn on the TV, almost at mute. Like if a loud scene happened, I'd have to go up and then, no, down. And I'd hear the door open from my parents' room. It's like, no, cut it off. I would be hiding under a table as they passed through. And my dad went to like gnaw on a T-bone in front of the sink.
Get some scraps.
And then I was like, oh no, I'm missing everything. And so they finally go back and the episode would be over. I'm like, no, it's fucking Inuyasha now. But, it was the first show I noticed where, like, really sad and upsetting things were happening, but a kind of, like, hauntingly happy, upbeat, sad music would be playing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in that show. Like, it's not just, like, someone's being shot and something tragic is playing.
Well, I think, in comparison to Cowboy Bebop, while Trigun seems very desperate at times, it's also strangely hopeful.
Yeah.
And Cowboy Bebop, it's just a straight. He has to die.
It's about death.
He has to die.
The show is like
he even says it.
Someone dying, basically.
Yeah, it is.
Like mentally, in a lot of ways.
But I wanted to say, in regards to the music, I hate to keep bringing it up, but the common thread between this, for you and me, is like the early Final Fantasy games were all, you read everything.
Yeah.
And the music was like at the forefront.
Right.
So I always think about that. It's like the music impacts a scene has so much impact.
Something terrible will be happening often with, Vash and a main character, and there will be just like contemplative, like kind of pretty music playing.
It drew me in, to be honest.
Just very
it really
pretty music.
Yeah.
Like someone is like there's a scene in the show where it's one of the most famous scenes. Like it's what I told you before I showed you the show.
Luckily, it had been so long,
and
so hazy that I don't really remember the details.
The main character's entire one of the most defining features of his character is that he's a legendary oh god awful outlaw that will not kill, and people don't know that he will not kill, and he is finally forced to kill someone, one of the worst enemies in the series. And the music is just this serene, peaceful thing while he does it, and it's like wow.
I love
it. Made the scene.
I love music juxtaposed to the scene.
Yeah,
and I've probably mentioned it on this podcast before, but there's an old documentary about Flint, Michigan Not about the current crisis, sadly enough, but they're just rolling through the town and all these horrible, like, dilapidated houses that no one lives in are being shown. And Wouldn't It Be Nice by Beach Boys is playing. Like, it's just like, oh man,
It's crazy.
Somehow it makes sense.
What it is it lends this unnerving, haunting quality to it.
Yeah.
Where it's like you understand something terrible is happening, but you look at it through like the lens of the tone of the song.
Yeah.
And it doesn't match, and it creates this disjointed, like, interesting thing. And Trigun is the first show, or really anything I ever noticed do that. And it was just, to me as a kid, like, it makes scenes, like I said, incredibly memorable and haunting. Like, even if the dialogue is bad and the events aren't that great, like, spoilers, like, flashback where you finally see this happy, silly character, Vash, talking to his brother who has just killed one of his friends and then fucking shoots Vash and his arm flies off. And there's just this slow, not upbeat, but just, like, serene quality, like, music playing. It's like, whoa! This is haunting as shit! Like, holy fuck! I don't know, man. It's just, like, that show got music. Mm-hmm. And it's all mostly written by a guitarist who, like, there's also, like, he's also, like, a flutist, and he plays, like, a limited keyboard tracks. And, like, little rock organ things. And I don't know, just the show had quite a vision. Just, there's no anime, or really any show quite like it, because it blended, to me, it wasn't, like, a well-executed Western, because it wasn't solidly a Western. It was a Western trickled with sci-fi elements.
Okay, yeah, we mentioned, I think at some point, where I was like, I love it when you think you know everything about a show
and
or
it changes.
Or a game, and then like halfway through, just everything
Bloodborne!
is like yes, exactly. That's my favorite part. Everything you know is flipped on its head. It's like, oh, that's what's behind this. This layer has been peeled back.
And that's what that show was.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, just so really, like, the first half of the show is just, you weren't bothered by, like, that.
It always breaks the rules that you're used to.
I'm getting away from that point. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry, that's fine.
You weren't bothered by the, I'm Vash Donuts, silly faces.
It wasn't my favorite part.
But you weren't just like, I can't watch my eyes burn.
No.
I think your initial question was like, what did you think? Like, I would, like, I thought it would be just like you just be sitting over by me like, oh man, and you proved to be a saint. That show is flawed but great.
Yeah,
it is a very good show. I'm done. What's our time looking like?
Hour 15.
I think it's time for music picks of the week.
Is this going to be your great one?
No. I have like a string of great ones under my belt.
There's not one that you think is the strongest, though?
Oh, there is.
But is this going to be it?
No.
Okay.
I don't want you to know which one I think is the great one.
So
I think you should be able to figure it out by yourself.
It doesn't matter what order we go in?
I've chosen an order very specific to the number I think we're doing a podcast.
Okay, I see.
Like, it's like a build-up.
Okay.
But it's not the most obvious build-up. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And some of them are based off the mood that I've derived from the podcast so far. Like, my feeling of it. And I think I have it.
Okay.
This is Jonathan Bree, You're So Cool.
Body so fit, so full of spark, with affirmations as your wall art. You were driven, eyes on the prize. A yoga routine, home exercise.
like that a lot, Jay. How do you find this stuff, typically?
I am a wanderer. I wanted to like signal for you to ask me for elaboration. Okay. But I just left it at that, and a long, awkward pause ensued. I've told you before, the chief tool, like weapon in my arsenal is Last.fm. Let's say, I like Grizzly Bear. Let's go to Grizzly Bear.
Similar artist.
Yeah. I don't like him, but what's the similar artist of him? Keep going, until you hit something that's like, okay,
yeah,
that's good. I couldn't tell you how I got to this guy.
Right,
I couldn't. It was a long, late night after work, probably having a couple too many drinks, that I just happened upon it, and I was like, this is something.
Yeah, that's good. I liked it a lot. The thing that stood out to me a lot was the vocal style.
I thought you were going to say the violins, because that's what makes it. That makes it, man.
That too, but the vocal style was kind of that gothic thing.
Yeah.
Not dissimilar from like Depeche Mode.
Yeah, but much more clear and articulate.
Right, yeah.
The thing I like that they have going is, like, if you watch the music video for You're So Cool, it is just this mishmash of like 50s, 60s, like dancing and feelings, and someone smoking, and they're in like clothing that could be from that time. Like this could have come out of the mid 50s.
The video, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just an odd song. I don't really know what it means. It's just a song about a girl he likes that's so cool. But it's presented in this exceedingly haunting way. And the violin line is so like, wow, it's just off and odd and really neat. And it's kind of creepy too, the music video, because they're doing like the Slender Man thing with the bodysuits.
Yeah.
Except they also have like a mask underneath the bodysuit so their mouths don't move.
Well, it kind of reminded
me. Or maybe he just recorded it without speaking.
Wasn't it like, well, yeah, I think that's what it
maybe.
was. But it reminded me of just the look of it. Was it like the Beatles' like first appearance on like U.S. television?
I get what you're saying. I kind of get what you're saying. But the song's not, like, catchy necessarily. It's memorable, but there's this part where he goes, most of us are crushed into servitude. And then, like, the guitar...
are isolated.
The guitar just, like, hits this strong-ass note after the perfect pause. And it's like, damn, that delivery that was already cool just got 10 times better. And then it's just such a cool song. What's your pick?
Okay, well, that was great, Jay. I really appreciate you bringing that along.
Thank you.
Showing me. And
I'm
can't
honored.
wait to look up more, because you played some earlier and I liked it a lot.
Hey, one more. Check out Weird Hardcore. It's a great song.
Okay, will do.
So many music picks.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Well, I was going to do something else, but since you mentioned it's just about a girl he liked, I'm changing it to this, which I meant to pick a long time ago, and I think I even mentioned it one time.
Yeah.
I'm going with, I wish I knew the title by heart, but it's by Edwin Collins. I think it's called A Girl Like You.
Here you come a knocking on my door. And I've never met a girl like you before. Give me just a taste, so I want more. Now my hands are bleeding and my knees are raw. 'Cause now you got me crawling on the floor. And I've never known a girl like you before.
So, Jay, what'd you check?
Oh, I have many thoughts. The odd thing about old Edwin Collins, A Girl Like You, is that it was a very late 80s sounding song.
Well, see, that's why you mentioned or I brought up like the gothic thing, and then you mentioned it's a song about a girl he likes, and I was like, I gotta change this on the fly. This just fits.
Yeah, it fit like oddly well, and there was a quality of gothicness.
It's his voice. Maybe.
Everybody like this, you know.
I think he's either Irish. I think he's Scottish though.
It's like Frankenstein was
yeah
a goth.
I can't ever.
You know what I mean?
See, I can never put my
It's like-
finger on it, and you always do. You got
It's like
it.
no. It's Elvis Frankenstein goth. It's like that.
Totally, yeah.
It's like Elvis is reanimated. Everybody, I am grim now.
Yes.
Like wow. And the whole song has like a pretty infectious beat. Like one thing I'll say about it, which is also oddly like in parallel with the music pick I chose, it's not very catchy, but the whole song is like a repetitive good thing. Like it's, you know what I mean? It doesn't have like verse, chorus. It's just like it's
There's
just
only really
good. It's like
I think
a few lines in the
both-
same manner.
Both of the songs only have one big change in it.
Yeah.
And they don't last very long.
And also, there's an incredible ripping guitar melody solo section that evolves throughout the song, and a really weird like we call it overdrive in guitar world, or like overgain, but it's controlled and clipped. Mm-hmm. And I've never really heard something quite like that as far as guitar tones go, and for me, that's very unusual. You know,
That's good to hear,
I've just about heard them all. And it was just the whole vibe of the video was similar to what I chose.
He's from Edinburgh, Scotland.
We won't
That-
talk
yeah,
about
that'll
old
be another
lemon. We won't talk about old lemon now, but we'll talk about him later.